Since they burst onto the scene a few years back as a maker of seriously impressive sports cars, supercars, hypercars, McLaren have made it very clear that, well, damn convention, they do things the way they want to do it, not because someone else does it their way. They do it for them and their customers, of course. They call it the McLaren way, and here is the prime example. This is the new GT. Now, I'm a bit of a traditionalist when it comes to cars, so to me, GT, Grand Tourer, means a few things. Engine in the front, fast, comfortable, and room to put your bags. So how did McLaren go? Well, the fast thing's taken care of. 3.2 seconds to 100 k's an hour, top speed of 326. It's comfortable too, because inside here, dihedral doors, of course, is a McLaren. Beautiful Napa leather. We'll take another look at that in a moment. But so it does the comfortable. Coming around the back, is there room for bags? Open up the back and, well, yes, there is. Slightly unconventional here, but room for a golf bag and some other bits and pieces. There is luggage you can get that fits everything in here. 420 litres. But this is where the GT thing takes a bit of a kink, or a chicane if you like, because under that 420 litres is a 4-litre twin-turbo V8 producing 612 horsepower. Awesome. Not very GT, but there's an upside, because if you come around the front, there's more storage right in here. I love this key. Another 150 litres. You know that from mid-engine McLarens. But McLaren are doing this their way. This is their take on GT. Like other McLarens, there is a carbon fibre monocell holding this car together. A few advantages on that. I'll touch on some more in a moment, but first of all, let's talk about what it means in this GT sense. Well, with some special upper supports, it's allowed the extra space, but it also means that they can use these glass C-pillars. It's so damn strong. Glass roof too, by the way. So lots of light going into the cabin and lots of all-round visibility. And that's a big thing about the GT. It can't just be a continent-crossing cruise missile, which, trust me, this car is. I've already told you about the performance. It has to be comfortable and easy to live in and drive. On that note too, it's long, 4.7 metres for a McLaren, but a lot of work's been done, because the overhangs are longer, to make sure it's not challenged by speed bumps and ramps and all those things that will cause damage to a car's beautiful extremities. What else is bigger? The wheels, 22 inches, biggest wheels ever fitted to a McLaren. The other thing I'm going to say right now, it is pretty. And I think a GT car should be pretty. It hasn't got that big long bonnet you'll obviously see on a GT normally, because the engine's in the middle. Talking about some numbers too, 95% of the torque, 630 Newton meters, by the way, is produced from 3,000 RPM right through. So this car is really tractable. Put that with a 7-speed gearbox, you're set for a great drive. But I want to get inside this car and take a closer look, because it is really a beautiful place to be. Well, the first thing about a GT is you need to be able to get into it easily. And look, I'm not tiny, but there you go. There's the good example. And it is really airy. I mentioned it from outside, but you're in here and you look around you, the tint of this roof is fantastic. And it does feel like a nice, comfortable place to be. And I mentioned it before, Napa leather, love it. I'll get on to some of the tech around the cockpit in a moment, but I want to talk about the cockpit itself. Just a couple more points about this carbon fibre monocell. First of all, it's light. In fact, this is the lightest car in its class. The next best competitor, 130 kilos heavier. Not just light, but also very, very strong. It means a rigid chassis for the suspension to do its work. In fact, it uses the clever adaptive suspension, the same software you'll find in the 720S. All hail the 720S. 3 settings: comfort, nice, sport, and track. How about that in a GT? Fantastic. Now, of course, it wouldn't be a McLaren without a really cool techie interior, and there's the sounds. It's setting itself up. That's all the clever hydraulic suspension, but it's got the latest in the touch screen and all the goodies. And it's also got a launch control button, good for those 3.2 seconds, 0 to 100. And of course, lots of noise. You want to hear how this V8 sounds? Listen to this. How's that? Seriously, how's that? This is turbocharged. goodness me. That is so awesome. I want to talk about this subdued, comfortable, rocket to go across the continents, but the truth is, oh man, fantastic. So it can behave itself, but it can be a beautifully raucous little beast. Fantastic. $367,900 the start price for these cars. In the same way that you're going to find lots of bubbles in a really great bottle of champagne, a McLaren is going to love the windy bits. Now, they made a car that's going to swallow up the straight bits perfectly as well. But there's one thing about this car, sort of the underlying feeling I've got from being inside it. And that's that it's beautiful. Not just inside there, not just the tech, I do love that, but it is the most handsome McLaren, in my opinion, yet. The rear end, a bit of touch of speed tail to it, but everywhere you look, the big intakes there, it is a genuinely attractive car. And I don't say that lightly. You beauty.